Hi everyone, I'm Hayley. I'm always in the craft room and I'm here today with a full review of my Notches Patterns Odell dress. And we're not into building the suspense on this channel. I'm just going to tell you straight away, I absolutely love it. I love the pattern, the instructions were fantastic. My match of pattern with fabric was just absolutely perfect, and that is not always the case with me. So I'm 100%, I'm 100% thrilled with this make. So let's get into some details. And I've immediately lost my notes. Hang on. There we go. So size-wise, based on the measurements on the pattern, I measured a 40 at the bust, a 42 at the waist, and a 38 on the hip, which that quite often happens to me, that I fall in a lot of different sizes. What I decided to do in this case was just cut a straight size 40 because I thought the fit at the bust was most important. I could see there was enough ease in the waist that wasn't going to be an issue. And I didn't really want to narrow the hips and bring it in too much because I felt like that would be altering the design really. It would make it kind of a lantern shape, and I just wanted to stay true to the original design. So I cut straight size 40, and yes, great decision. The fit through the bust is fantastic. It's fairly close and kind of skims, which you need with the big poofy sleeves, but it's not snug at all. There's no zips or closures. It's straight on over the head. It is just the perfect amount of ease. Now, I will say, whilst we're talking bust fit, there are bust darts here, and I had some issues with these darts. So I am going to let past Hayley explain what was wrong with the original fit on this dress when I first tried it on and what I did to remedy it. Well, hello there. My Odell dress is finished. I am loving these sleeves. Look at those. I know. Aren't they cool? And the lovely dip in the back. It's all looking fabulous. I'm so pleased with it. But we have a slight issue with the front. I'll tilt you down a bit and see if you can see what I mean. So when I just stand straight, I'm getting lines pointing right towards my bust. I'm going to drop you a bit further. Ooh, these lines are just pointing right at my boobs. Now it does have bust darts. They start there and it ends there. That is a long way from the point of my bust and quite a lot lower. Now if I shift the fabric so that the bust dart ends about an inch from the bust point in each direction, can you see how much nicer that hangs? I'm not getting those folds. So yeah, it's the same on this side. There's just a big line pointing at my boobs in not a good way. So I think what I need to do is sew this dart and take more fabric out so that the dart goes further towards the point of my bust. That's what I'm thinking. I'm sure you'll see in the finished video what I decide, but I just thought I'd show you where we were before I started fiddling with it. Okay, so I have extended one of the darts. Can you guess which one? Does it look better? Does it look worse? Can you even see a difference? I'll tilt you down because I actually don't know which one it was, you know, because it was inside out. Looking at it, I'm hoping it's that side because I think that side looks much better. Let's check. Yes, it was indeed that side. I took the dart out another 3.5 centimetres, which is quite a long way, isn't it? So now this dart goes from the side seam here to here, which is a little bit below and a little bit away from my bust point. And this one is still the original where it stops here. Yeah, that's much better, isn't it? Yay! I'll go and do the other one. Okay, 2 new bust darts sewn, and I really think, yeah, I think that is a lot better. Ah, dress all done. I am so pleased with it. So that's all the details on the changes I made at the bust line. We also need to talk length. So the modelled shots of this pattern, especially the back view, make it look super short. I'm only 5'4", but I didn't want it anywhere near that short. So I actually lengthened it by a whopping 26 centimetres. But wait, you don't need to do that. I lengthened it by 26 centimetres because that's what I had left on my piece of fabric. So this is a really fine cotton. It's such a beautiful weight. The colours are just so me. I love navy, I love teal, but it was quite narrow. So I bought 3 meters of this. And when I laid the pattern out to cut it out, the last pieces I laid were front and back so I could lengthen it by whatever was left. So I lengthened it by 26 centimetres. I actually ended up cutting off 21 centimetres. So I actually only lengthened it by 5 centimetres, but I took a bigger hem than intended. So the pattern suggests a 1 centimetre hem and then a 2 centimetre. Do you know what I mean? Like turn 1 centimetre, then turn 2 centimetres. So you're taking up 3 centimetres total. But I just thought a deeper hem, since I had the fabric available, would look nicer. So I double turned a 3 centimetre hem. So I took 6 centimetres. Don't worry, I've done the maths for you. Overall, this dress that I'm wearing in the modelled footage is 2 centimetres longer than intended. But you know what, if you have the fabric available, I do think a nice deep hem does always make garments look really nicely finished. So just something to bear in mind, that it, as drafted, it's quite a skimpy hem allowance. Obviously, the standout point of the dress is these sleeves, and I absolutely love them. Like, I can't even tell you how much I enjoyed doing these. They are described on the instruction sheet as the easiest puff sleeves you will ever do. And I have to disagree with that. They were not that easy. I think they're the best puff sleeves I've ever done by like a country mile, but they weren't the easiest for a couple of reasons. So the first one is just cutting out, which for me, that's usually the hardest part of the process, because I find cutting out is when you can make irrevocable errors, stuff you can't take back. You know, if you cut something not on the fold and you've not added a seam allowance, or if you cut something with the fabric folded and there's a bit out of the piece behind and then you've got a gaping hole, I find cutting out quite stressful. But this particular pattern, I'm going to show you the pattern pieces for the sleeve. So there's pattern piece H, which attaches to G, which attaches to F, which attaches to E, which attaches to D. There's a lot of sleeve pattern pieces to make this amazing sleeve, so I'm not complaining at all. I'm just saying you have to really keep track of them. I cut them out and left the pattern pieces clipped to the fabric. And the way you do it is you match the notches, obviously, as you always would. So imagine the front of the dress is panel C, and you attach D there with the single notch, and then there's 2 notches there, which you attach to the 2 notches on E, and then there's 3 notches there, which you attach to the 3 notches on F, and so on and so forth. But it is a lot to keep track of, and my fabric was pretty similar right and wrong sides. So I didn't quite follow the instructions. The instructions would have you make up a whole sleeve and then make up the other one. Instead, what I did was sew this panel and then sew that panel, and then this panel and then that panel and then this panel and that panel, so that I could be sure I was keeping the right side of the fabric out, if that makes sense. And they have you sew it first, overlock it second, which leads to a really lovely finish inside. I'll just flip this inside out to show you. I really like that. And as you might know if you watched the Friday Sews when I was mid-construction of this, it's a 1 centimetre seam allowance, which is my preference, but it turns out all these years I've been sewing at 9 millimetres, not 1 centimetre. Might explain why quite a lot of my makes are too big, eh? Anyway, when I came to put this cuff on, it didn't match the sleeve, and so I went and looked back at it and measured, realised I had effectively added 2 millimetres times 6 all the way around, so 12 mil or half an inch. And it didn't match, so I actually just bodged it. And can you see on this top one, I just took it all in on one. It might be better this way around. I literally just took 12 mil extra out of this poof, and you know what, if anything, it just gave it a tiny zhuzh of extra poof, because I deliberately did it on the top one because I'm all about the poofy sleeves for this pattern. The neckline, as you can see, is faced, and this is the front of the dress. The neckline is higher at the front and scooped at the back. I love that feature in a summer dress. I never had anything like that before, and I'll tell you why I love it. I'm obviously very, very pale, and I like sun protection from clothing, and a high neck at the front gives me that sun protection when the sun is beating down on me. But having a low neckline at the back offers a nice waft of breeze every so often. That is also covered by my hair, so not so much of a concern with the sun. I just absolutely love it. And I also think it's just a beautiful feature when you see me from behind. It just looks like a really nice, elegant finish. So I think that's all I've got to tell you. It was hard to keep track of the pieces, but definitely worth it. And it is an easy construction in that it's literally sew a panel to a panel to a panel to a panel to a panel and add a cuff. But as compared to a traditional puff sleeve, where you just start with a really large pattern piece, sew 2 lines of basting stitches, pull, done, I wouldn't describe it as particularly easy. Anyway, I'm probably being fussy. Overall, I love the fit of this. I did have to mess with the bust darts. I'm not sure if that's just me. I am short in the torso, so bust darts, if I don't alter patterns, do often fall in the wrong place. So don't read too much into it. And, clearly not a fitting expert. If you've followed any of the videos on this channel, you will know that. Actually, there's one thing I want to tell you about the facing, and that is that when this is on the body, the facing sits beautifully. It's the most well-behaved facing I've ever encountered. The back is lying flatter than the front. I'm working on my understitching and facing techniques with the help of Janet Prey. I will link her tutorial below. Unfortunately, I hadn't found that tutorial when I made this, but I'm hopeful that in future I can tame the flipping facing. Pun, because it is a flipping facing and it's also a flipping facing. But on the body, it's absolutely fine. And the other thing with this dress is, and I think it might be a feature of it being effectively a raglan sleeve, is it never slips backwards on me, ever. Which that is the dream, because as you can see, I have super square shoulders and most things pull up on me and grab me at the neck, and this doesn't. I love everything about it, so much so I'm planning another, but the blouse version in this gorgeous broderie anglaise. I'm so excited to get that done because I just think that will look absolutely fantastic. I'm not going to do the facing at the neckline. I'm going to bind it so that you can't see it so much through. But yeah, so pleased to have this pattern in my arsenal. And I don't even know if I mentioned at the beginning, which why didn't I? Because it's one of the main attractions of this pattern. It's free. I know. I will leave the link below. If you like the look of it, rush out and download that pattern because, yeah, it's an absolute winner. That's it from me today. I hope to see you again soon. Bye.